All right, welcome back. So in this section, what we're going to do is look at actually hardening the security for our Databricks workspaces by disabling public access. And so what that means is you can only access these Databricks workspaces using while you're on an approved network. So typically that means like if you're on-prem or on the VPN. So what I have established right now is a site-to-site VPN from my on-prem data center, which is just kind of my lab environment, and then that's of course connected to my Azure data center. So let's take a look at my hub workspace, for example. So this one is already connected and mapped, and so we should be able to get over to that one just fine. So we'll give that just a second to log in, and there we go. So I'm in the workspace because this one is connected. And if I hop over now and try this again for my prod should hopefully fail. So let's launch that workspace, and it's probably going to give us an error about the network privacy is not allowed. So what are we doing here? There's a simple line in the code. When you're setting up a workspace, I've got this line that says public network access enabled, and what we're doing is instead of hard coding that, I've just set that as a variable where we can change that from true to false. And so for this one, with it being public network access enabled, we want to set that to false, which is I think sometimes they've got these kind of double negatives here, like no public IP true, like that feels kind of funny to me, but you can also do this in the UI as well, but again, this is kind of Terraform focused. So I've got this set as disabled for all of my workspaces. When you disable it, as long as you have that line of sight, we want to just make sure that we're routing to the proper private endpoints. So I'm going to save this, and I'll show you kind of where I find that. But what we've basically got is three endpoints that we care about. We care about our workspace endpoint, and then we care about our basically our two authentication endpoints. And so these are the ones that are going to route to private endpoints. So like I said, we're going to save this. We're going to do a quick IP flush. And then what I want to do is let's just go ahead and just clear my browsing data because sometimes this caches. So what we're just going to do is go into my settings, go into privacy and security. Where is it? Cookies and data. Let's go ahead and just clear that browsing data. And what I'm going to do is just pause this and log right back in. Okay, so we are logging back in. What I want to do now is just refresh. We're going to go back to Databricks. And this time what we're going to do is go to the prod workspace that we had, that we did not have access to just a minute ago. And that was really just a routing thing. I'd already kind of disabled public access for all four of these. So if we launch the workspace, it should take us there now. And there we go. So we're in. So if we take a look at just one of these workspaces, they're all configured pretty similarly. We can look at so we're on the prod workspace right now. Like I said, they're all pretty similar. Let's go to networking for this. And so we've got a few options set here. So we've got the deploy Databricks workspace with secure cluster connectivity is no public IP. Okay, that part is enabled. This is the feature that I was talking about. So allow public network access. We want that to be set to disabled. If you have it set one way and you change it through Terraform, it won't destroy anything. It just updates in place, but that update takes about 10 to 15 minutes. So it takes a little while to do it. And then what we care about is the private endpoint connections. So I've got 4 workspaces, so I need to come and take a look at this 4 different times. And what we have is we've kind of got our UI API and then our auth. So those are the 2 connections that we care about. And so if we look at the private endpoints, let's go just kind of one by one. So again, I'm looking at my prod one, and I want to go to my DNS configuration, and then I just want to grab this fully qualified domain name, and I want to grab the public IP for this. Now, there's and kind of what this is doing is this is what I'll navigate to. So I want my host file to point to this IP address, which internally then is going to take this IP address and it's going to map it back to this private link. So we've got a private link kind of behind the scenes, and we just want to tell our system how to navigate to this. And so this is what I'm adding. So I've got this line here, and then we need these other 2 lines as well. So if we go back to the networking for it, which one did we just do? I think did we just do the UI API and the network configuration? Yeah. So let's go back to the second one now, which is the auth endpoints, and there should be two of these. So we're going to go to the DNS configuration here, and we just want to get the fully qualified domain name for the auth for both of these, and grab the IPs for those. And similarly, what it does is these are our, if it was publicly accessible, we would go to this endpoint. Instead, we're going to be hitting these private link endpoints behind the scenes. And so we're literally just adding those 2 endpoints to our host file as well. That way, when we go to the browser, our browser knows that we're routing over the VPN to these private endpoints. So that's pretty much all for this one. I take that back. I do actually want to show you something else as well. So when you are talking about these private endpoints also, take a look up here. We've got this HTTPS, and then we've got kind of this URL path here, and this is the path to our workspace. This is the same path that we're going to use for things like working with the API calls, and then also if we work with, say, our SQL warehouses, for example. Here's a starter warehouse. I like to destroy this pretty early on, but we can also take a look at the properties for this. So I think we just click on this, and we'll navigate to the connection details. And so you'll see this here. This is the server host name, and that's that URL that we see up here. So that is kind of, if we wanted to connect to that, we'd also need this HTTP path. So if we're connecting to this, like let's say that we want to connect to Power BI, like what we're going to do is come in here to these connection details and use these pieces of information to connect. Well, this is connecting through our, basically this is connecting to our URL, to our workspace. And so when we want to kind of lock this down, that's one of the things that we're doing is when we're blocking that public access, we're also blocking that direct access to tools like, like Power BI coming to this directly. So when you want to connect to a business intelligence tool or connect externally, then you have to think about how you're going to do that, and whether you're going to use like some kind of like VNet data gateway, which that comes with a pretty hefty price, or if you want to set up like an on-prem data gateway and kind of host it yourself. There's a few different options for that, but I just wanted to kind of shed a little bit of light on this as well, because you would use that that public access for connecting to your host name, for your compute resources, then also for connecting to your API. So if you have any issues there, then that might be part of what's going on as well. So that is it. Have a good one.